Hey everybody, thanks for watching. The origin of life on Earth is explained by two competing theories. One, life was created purposefully by God, or two, life was created spontaneously by the blind forces of nature. One of these theories is supported by evidence and one is not. Stephen Copps wrote this in an article for the University of Chicago. He said, quote, "The origin of life on Earth stands as one of the great mysteries of science. Various answers have been proposed, all of which remain unverified. The overwhelming majority, though, of modern biological scientists take the position that life was created spontaneously by the blind forces of nature in a process called abiogenesis, whereby non-living constituents somehow assembled and became a living thing. This is a very awkward position because there's actually no evidence for it whatsoever. There is no example of non-life becoming life. There is no realistic mechanism for non-life becoming life. There's not even any evidence for the spontaneous formation of the essential molecules necessary for life. Life is a self-perpetuating system in all modern organisms. DNA is the molecular language of life. DNA provides the information that builds proteins, and proteins are the engines that build DNA. All of life on Earth depends on this self-perpetuating system between DNA and proteins. There's an absolute mutual dependence between these molecules. One does not exist without the other, and scientists readily admit that neither can form spontaneously. I'm willing to look at this reality and conclude that the existence of life requires divine intervention. What's the alternative? Some scientists say that RNA, a simpler molecule, formed first spontaneously, and later life just switched over to a DNA-based system. So, sure, we could create a story about how a series of extraordinarily unlikely natural processes came together at just the right time to produce this outcome. It's also possible to force some of these hypothetical steps to occur in a laboratory setting. The problem, though, is that the spontaneous occurrence of these events in biology is so unlikely that it's not actually possible. Not even in an infinite number of trials. As an example, Robert Shapiro, an expert in DNA chemistry, said this about spontaneous RNA formation. Quote, "The analogy that comes to mind is that of a golfer who, having played a golf ball through an 18-hole course, then assumed that the ball could also play itself around the course in his absence. He had demonstrated the possibility of the event. It was only necessary to presume that some combination of natural forces, earthquakes, winds, tornadoes, and floods, for example, could produce the same result given enough time. His point is that spontaneous RNA formation is not a realistic explanation for the origin of life. This is actually the fate of every origin of life scenario that takes God out of the equation. These obstacles are so obvious that some scientists have seriously proposed that complex organic molecules and perhaps life itself was delivered to Earth by meteorites. Since Earth can't provide a solution for the origin of life, they literally punt the problem into outer space. The interdependence of DNA, RNA, and proteins is just one of the incredible complexities of life that just can't be explained by natural chemical evolution. There's really no reason to believe in the spontaneous origin of life on Earth or in space unless you don't want to believe that life was created. An examination of the evidence strongly favors the proposition that life was purposefully created by God. Despite the assurance of modern scientists, there is no mechanism for life to emerge spontaneously from the raw materials. And this is why the physical chemist Ilya Prigogine said, quote, "The statistical probability that organic structures and the most precisely harmonized reactions that typify living organisms would be generated by accident is zero. A simple and satisfying explanation is that God is the giver of life. He created the constituents of life, and He created life itself." This is explained in Acts chapter 17, where Paul said, "God who made the world and everything in it, since He is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands, nor is He worshipped with men's hands, as though He needed anything, since He gives to all life, breath, and all things. He has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on the face of the earth, and has determined their pre-appointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings. So known that they should seek the Lord, in the hope that they might grope for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. You exist because God wants you to exist. God created life in you so that you would seek him and find him. Thanks for watching.